Right, it's the middle of February. The risk of late frost is still a bit of a threat and will still be for the next month or so. And for the past couple of weeks it's done nothing but rain, so we've got a bit of a dry spell, and that dry spell allows us to do some timely jobs to get the garden ready for spring. You look around and at face value not much is happening, but look a bit closer, you can see a few things are starting to move along. So let's take a look around the garden, see what jobs I need to do in preparation for the new season, and hopefully give you some inspiration, especially in this cold weather. Come on, let's go. Arguably the two most important jobs you need to look at is weeding and slug management. I mean, even if you have kept your beds relatively weed free, like I've done, because there's nothing more than I enjoy than spending several hours in my knees getting muddy doing the weeds. But even so, look around, you'll see dormant weeds sprouting, you see old weeds you miss coming through, and the sooner you get those up and out, the better, because as soon as they flower, they're sending out new seeds all over the garden. It's going to give you so much more work. So timely weeding this time of year will reap many rewards later on in the season. Now, regarding the slugs and snails, you cannot buy the metaldehyde based slug pellets that you used to purchase in the old days. That actually worked. I mean, they never killed every single slug, but they gave you a good 80 to 90% kill rate. So what do you do nowadays? We have two good choices. The first one is to go around at night with a torch, pick them up as you see them, remove them, destroy them, do whatever you have to do so that they're not in your garden eating your favourite plants. The second one is to use beer traps. Now you might say, Simon, beer traps, do they work? Because they really do. These are the beer traps that I use. The key to using beer traps is to use a smelly beer, like a bitter, something that's got a lot of yeast in it. So you can't use wine, you can't use ciders. I know they call them slug pubs, but you can't just stick in any old alcohol. It needs to be a smelly beer. Smelly beer works the best, and that generally will give you really good results. So there you go, beer traps is the key. Get them down as soon as you can. Now you can see that, you see that where these juvenile flower buds are, they've been eaten out. That is slug damage, that in the leaf is slug damage, and that there, all on that is all slug damage, and it's still just the middle of February. Now overnight temperatures have really increased. We're looking at 10 degrees, 8 degrees, so we don't really need the frost protection on, but as you notice around here, there is still evidence of frost protection in place, and there is a reason for that, and the reason for that is just over here as I walk towards it. Right, see that under there? There's an agave americana. Absolutely gorgeous, I really love those. Now, as you probably know, agave americana is extremely cold hardy. Goes down, if I remember correctly, to about minus 12 degrees Celsius. But the problem is, although it likes the cold, it does not like the roots being wet over the winter. Wet roots, freezing conditions, they do not combine well. They can kill off your plant. So not only is this piece of protection here good for keeping off the cold, it also acts as an excellent rain shadow. So what this does is keeps the rain away from all around here, because the plant naturally brings rain from these big leaves into the center crown and down into the root system. So by keeping this on here, keeps this ground so much drier than without it. So if in your garden you have a number of extremely cold hardy plants, but those which do not like wet conditions, then there you go. During this period of rain in the winter, especially here in England, which is pretty much rain all the time, put on your rain covers, make sure your rain shadows work, make sure you keep those roots dry on those plants that need to be kept dry during cold conditions. Well, you saw earlier I was digging a hole in the border over there. Well, the reason for that is because I'm going through all the old pots. Now, a lot of these pots here, they have only a seasonal display in there. These two have, it's got a tree pinny in that one, it's got a bush pinny in that one, and although they look absolutely fantastic when in flower, the rest of the year they're not really good enough to be on main display. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to lift these, put them in the borders, free up those pots and plant something a little more interesting. And while we are at it, don't forget your pre-packed bulbs for summer flowering. They are all available right now in the garden centre with absolutely fantastic prices. So not only do you want to get hold of these, you want to get them planted up straight away. We've done a couple of videos on planting up pre-packs, and I'll put the links for those in the description under the video. So we've got some AGAPANTHUS here, and we've got some KNIPHOFIA here that we bought pre-packed and planted these up about a week or so ago and put these in the greenhouse to establish them on, bring them forward, get some accelerated growth in it. We'll explain why we put them in the greenhouse, not the ground, in those aforementioned videos. Now, it's not just your pre-pack, so you can start getting in the ground or in pots. It's also a load of seeds that you can put out as well. All of these seeds here that I've just had hanging around can all be started off in February, although you might need to get yourself a little heated propagator to speed up germination and get them potted into the greenhouse. But certainly things like tomatoes, let's see, I'm not lying, February germination times. Tomatoes need to make the most of the summer that we have, so you want to start early, you want to establish them early, you want to get them in the ground and producing, cropping early. Okay, just to finish, we'll have a quick walk around the garden just to point out a few jobs that we need to sort of keep an eye on and get sorted out today. So let's start off with this tree fern. So we've taken off some of the winter protection only because it's not been cold enough and I still want to get water and rain in here. Now, if you're experiencing a winter where you are not getting much rain, then you need to make sure that these do still get watered over the winter period. Indeed, it's also worth giving them a little bit of fertilizer, because give it another month or so, all the new fronds are going to start emerging. They need to be powered by some food, nutrition, and also by not allowing them to dry up over the winter. Quite often, if you put a bag over that and water doesn't get into the crown will deteriorate in its condition, and you'll get a poor start in the spring. But by keeping it watered, well watered, not in freezing conditions, only when it's mild, and keeping it fed, but not as much as you would feed during the growing season. You're probably only looking like a half dose of fertilizer once a month then, and it kind of guarantees an explosion of new growth come the spring. Now, if you've kept a close eye on the garden during last year's growing period, you'll find some things that may need to be moved. Now, we've got a miscanthus grass here, we've got a small magnolia stellata here. Now, while they are fine and got plenty of space and plenty of light during the spring, as soon as that thing opens up, these are put into heavy shade. So these I'm going to need to move, and January, February time, while these plants are still dormant, it's an ideal time to move these. So these will be getting lifted shortly and can be put in a much better place for them, so they'll get a better display come the following spring. So look at this little monkey, that's a little sorbaria, and look, so much new growth already this early on in the spring. So keep an eye on that. If you do get late frost, you might need to put a little bit of cover on that, but it's not the only one that's starting to put out a load of new growth. This is one of several rose cuttings that I put in last November, and again, it's already putting out a load of growth, and this is very tender, and a late frost will knock that on the head. So keep an eye on the weather, and if the threat of frost is near, then put out a little bit more winter protection. Now, if you, like me, have planted a load of bulbs in your garden, then it's easy to forget about them over the winter because there is nothing to show that they exist. So when you're walking around the borders, digging in your plants and what have you, watch out for new bulbs coming through. They are literally emerging from everywhere, and if you accidentally stand on them, then the chances are you've completely ruined that year's flowering display. So always keep an eye out for that, and to make sure you don't stand on them. Come the autumn, come the summer, when you know those plants are going to die back, and put in some small markers so you know where those bulbs have been planted throughout the year. So there you have it. Those are my jobs for February. I mean, there's probably a few more in there that I've forgotten, and if there's any jobs that you think that we should be doing in February, then let us know. Leave a comment in the comment section. We would love to hear from you. Anyway, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.